Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're kind of tossing out the usual cookie-cutter golf advice.
Yeah, the generic stuff.
Exactly. And plunging headfirst into the really fascinating world of swing archetypes.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission is pretty simple. We're decoding the research you shared with us, maybe busting some long-held golf myths along the way,
Hope so.
and giving you actionable insights to find your most efficient, most powerful swing.
Absolutely. And right off the bat, the sources make one thing incredibly clear. There just isn't one single perfect golf swing. Doesn't exist.
Everyone's different.
Totally.
Mm.
Every golfer's body is built differently, and that means we all move, well, uniquely, especially under the dynamic forces of a golf swing.
So trying to force everyone into the same mold.
It just doesn't work. It can even be counterproductive.
Which really explains why trying to copy, say, your favorite tour pro might feel completely awkward or just wrong.
Exactly. It often feels unnatural because it is unnatural for your body.
So how do we cut through all that noise? You know, the conflicting tips about hip turn, weight shift, keep your head down, all that stuff.
Well, that's precisely where understanding your own swing archetype becomes so valuable.
Okay.
The research we're digging into today, particularly the work highlighted by Henrik Jentsch, it really flips the script.
Flips the script how?
It shifts the focus. It's not about chasing someone else's ideal swing. It's about unlocking your most powerful, most efficient movement based on your own unique biomechanics.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's get into it then. What exactly are these swing archetypes?
So think of them as distinct swing profiles or maybe patterns.
Patterns.
Yeah. Jentsch's work, which is based on a ton of research, identifies 9 of these profiles. They're categorized mainly by how the upper and lower body move, relative to each other, and the target line during the swing.
9 is quite a few.
It is. But for this deep dive, we'll focus on the real foundation, which the sources emphasize the main lower body categories. These come from how your hips move. That's a primary differentiator.
Okay, so it starts with the lower body, the hips. How do we even begin to classify something as, well, fluid and individual as hip movement?
It starts with a concept called the sway gap. It sounds technical, but the idea is simple.
Okay, break it down.
Imagine a vertical line running straight down through the center of your body when you're at address. Maybe picture it dropping from your sternum.
Got it, a center line.
Right. Now, as you make your backswing, where do your hips move relative to that line? Do they shift mostly behind it? Do they stay pretty centered, maybe moving just a little bit in front? Or do they move significantly in front of it towards the target?
Okay, so it's about that side-to-side movement of the hips compared to that center point.
Exactly. That lateral hip movement during the backswing is a really fundamental indicator. And it basically sorts players into 3 main categories. The sources often call these the core post types.
Post types. Okay. Let's break down those 3 main hip-based categories then. What's the first one?
First up, you've got the front post players. These are golfers who tend to load their weight, their center of mass, more onto their lead side, their front leg, quite early in the backswing.
Early load on the front.
Yeah. And their hips, consequently, move noticeably in front of that center line we talked about. The sources often point to Bryson DeChambeau as a prime example.
Yeah, I can picture that.
You see that really powerful, almost kind of braced, or some say blocky look through impact. That's driven hard off that lead side.
Okay, got the front post, powerful, lead side dominant. What's the opposite end of that spectrum?
That would be the rear post players. They show a more, let's say, traditional weight shift.
How so?
Their hips and center mass move back behind that center line during the backswing. They really load up onto their trail side, their back leg.
Okay.
Lydia Ko is often mentioned as a good example here. You see that very smooth, fluid coil.
Yeah, very graceful.
And then a really distinct push off that trail side coming down into the ball. They kind of coil up like a spring on that back leg.
Coil like a spring. I like that. And then there must be something in the middle.
Exactly. The center post, think of players like Tiger Woods or Rory McIlroy often fit this description.
Okay, the big names.
Right. They represent more of a blend. They might have some slight lateral movement, sure, but their weight and hips tend to stay more centered relative to that line during the backswing.
So how do they load up?
Their load comes more from rotation around a more central axis. They distribute pressure pretty evenly onto both legs during the backswing, rather than heavily favoring one side early on.
That distinction makes a lot of sense, actually. Just observing or even feeling how my hips move early on could give me a clue about my archetype.
It's a great starting point.
But power, where does the actual power come from? How does this hip movement tie into generating speed?
Okay, now we're getting to the engine room. This is where ground forces come in.
Ground forces. Heard that term a lot.
And it's crucial. The research highlights this brilliantly, using an analogy I think really clicks. Think of your golf swing like a car.
Okay, like a car. I'm listening.
The ground forces how you push off the ground, interact with it. That's the engine of your car. That's where the raw power originates.
Okay, engine equals ground interaction. Makes sense. So my body, that's the transmission, transferring the power.
Precisely. Taking that energy from the ground and sending it up the chain, through your body, the kinetic chain.
And then I guess the arms, hands, and club, they're the steering wheel.
Yeah.
Directing all that energy towards the ball.
You got it. Now, here's the kicker. Just like cars have different drive systems, front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Different swing archetypes use their engine, the ground forces, in fundamentally different ways.
Okay, so let me guess. A rear post golfer. They're like a rear-wheel drive car. Power from the back.
You nailed it. That's a great way to think about it.
And a front post player. More like front-wheel drive. Pulling from the front.
Yeah, you could definitely see it that way. And the center post.
All-wheel drive. Using everything together.
Pretty much. Like an all-wheel drive system, blending the forces. Now think about the implication here.
Okay.
Trying to swing like a rear post player if you're naturally a front post. It's like trying to drift a front-wheel drive car.
Yeah. Doesn't work so well. You're fighting its design.
Exactly. You're working against the fundamental design of your swing, your body's natural mechanics.
Wow. That is such a clear way to put it. It means trying to rigidly copy someone else's swing, even a really great player, could actually hurt my game if their drive system is different.
It absolutely could. It often leads to inefficiency, loss of power, inconsistency, even injury sometimes.
So understanding my archetype, it's like finally getting the right owner's manual for my own swing.
That's a perfect way to phrase it. You learn how your specific engine generates power and how your transmission is best designed to transfer it efficiently.
Okay, let's pop the hood then. Let's look inside these different engines. How does each archetype actually generate horsepower?
Sounds good. Where should we start?
Let's start with rear post, the rear-wheel drive folks. How do they get their speed?
Okay, so the sources describe their power generation really stemming from that fluid load onto the trail side. That move back isn't just for show.
All right.
By shifting back, they create space, they build up potential energy. Like you said, stretching a rubber band or coiling that spring.
And the release.
The real power surge comes from a powerful push off that trail leg. It's not just rotation. It's a distinct lateral and vertical push from that trail side that helps sequence the downswing.
So it kicks things off.
Yeah, it helps sequence everything and, as the sources put it, kind of catapult the club head through impact with speed. It's a smooth buildup and then a dynamic release from the trail side.
Catapult. Nice visual. Okay, what about the center post golfers, the all-wheel drive, like Tiger and Rory?
Their power generation is a bit more blended because they stay more centered. Their power isn't quite as reliant on that big lateral push from one side like the rear post.
So where does it come from?
It comes more from really efficient rotation around their central axis, combined with a strong vertical force component.
Vertical force, like jumping.
Sort of, yeah.
Wow.
Pushing upwards through impact, using the ground vertically, but from that more balanced, centered stance, they blend the lateral and vertical forces really well. They aren't dominated by one like the other two archetypes might be. It's about rotation and vertical thrust from a stable base.
Okay, blend of rotation and vertical push. Got it. Now, the front post players, the ones loading the lead side early, how do they generate power if they aren't really shifting back to create that big coil?
Yeah, their power source is quite different. The sources really highlight that front post players generate significant power through very early vertical force production.
Early vertical.
Yes, and it's primarily driven off their lead leg. They load onto that Liz side in the backswing, and then they drive hard up off that lead leg through the impact zone.
Driving up off the front leg?
Exactly. The research mentions practicing this with exercises that really emphasize a powerful lead leg drive. Sometimes it's described as feeling almost like the motion of a basketball jump shot through impact.
A basketball jump shot. That's interesting.
Yeah, that feeling of driving hard off that lead leg vertically. It's all about leveraging the ground forces through that front leg early and forcefully.
That jump shot feel, that's a great image for the front post.
Yeah.
I can really see now how this whole archetype framework fundamentally challenges some of those, common golf myths we always hear.
Oh, absolutely. Big time.
Like the classic one, keep your head down.
Oh, that one. Yes. Well, obviously keeping your eye on the ball is important, Rigidly forcing your head to stay down isn't universally correct or even helpful for everyone.
So what's more important?
The research strongly suggests that maintaining a consistent spine angle relative to the ball is far more critical.
Spine angle, okay.
Depending on your archetype, how your body naturally rotates and shifts, your head might actually move slightly up or maybe laterally during the swing. And that can be perfectly fine, even beneficial for power or sequence, as long as that core relationship, the spine angle to the ball, remains stable through impact.
That's honestly a relief to hear. It always felt a bit forced.
For many people, it is.
It also makes me think about ball position. That's another piece of advice often given as the sort of one-size-fits-all rule.
Exactly. Put the ball off your lead heel for the driver, And again, the sources really emphasize individuality here.
So ball position isn't fixed?
Not necessarily. It's intrinsically tied to how you naturally shift your weight and where the low point of your swing arc naturally occurs.
How does it relate to the archetypes?
Well, think about it. A front post player who's loading that lead side early and keeping their center more forward, they might naturally find the ball sits comfortably a bit further forward in their stance. Their low point is likely more forward and stable.
Okay. And a rear post?
A rear post player, with that more dynamic lateral shift, back and then through, they might play the ball a little further back in their stance compared to the front post player to match their movement pattern and sequence.
So it's about matching ball position to your natural movement.
Precisely. It's about finding what works with your archetype, with your natural flow, not just forcing a position because someone somewhere said it was correct for everyone.
Okay, this is incredibly useful stuff, practical. So how can you, the listener, actually start applying this? How do you figure out which archetype you lean towards? And maybe more importantly, what do you do with that information?
Well, obviously, working with a good coach who understands these biomechanical differences and archetype principles, that's certainly valuable.
Sure, a trained eye helps.
They have the experience, maybe even some tech, to help confirm your tendencies and build a plan.
But I don't need to fly off to some fancy biomechanics lab, right? The sources suggested I could start figuring this out myself, at home.
Absolutely. You definitely can. The research talks about simple, home-based assessments. It's not about needing expensive launch monitors or 3D motion capture systems. Not at first, anyway.
Phew. Okay, like what?
It's really about becoming more aware of your own body and its natural preferences. For instance, just stand naturally, no club needed. Mimic a backswing motion slowly, and just feel where your weight wants to go.
Just feel the weight shift.
Yeah. Does it feel like it's settling heavily into your back foot, maybe towards the heel? That might suggest rear post tendencies. Or does it feel like it stays more centered between your feet? Or maybe even shifts a bit onto the ball of your front foot early on. That could point towards center or front post.
So it's really about tuning into those inherent movement patterns, those sensations.
Exactly. It's about proprioception, feeling your body in space. Another simple thing mentioned is just stand up, feet shoulder width apart, and make a full turning motion, like a torso twist, but without thinking about hitting a ball. Just turn back and turn through. Observe where your body naturally wants to rotate from. Where does your weight want to settle at the top of the backswing? These simple self-assessments can give you really strong clues about your natural inclinations.
Right, so I get some clues. Maybe I have a sense of whether I'm more front, rear, or center post. What then? What's the next step?
That's when you can start tailoring your practice, maybe even your fitness, more effectively. The whole goal is to build a swing that enhances your natural tendencies. You want to work with your body, not fight against it.
Makes sense. Work with it, not against it.
And the sources discuss specific drills tailored to archetypes. For instance, if you identify as primarily rear post,
Yeah.
you might explore drills that specifically exaggerate or strengthen that lateral shift onto the trail side, and then really focus on feeling that powerful push-off from the trail leg to start the downswing.
Okay. And if I feel more front post?
Then you'd maybe focus on exercises and drills to improve your lead leg stability, strengthen that lead leg, and really work on enhancing that vertical jump feeling through impact, feeling that upward thrust off the front foot.
Practicing that basketball jump shot feel.
Exactly. You're reinforcing what your body already wants to do, making it more efficient and powerful.
So it really becomes about building a personalized roadmap. You stop chasing some mythical perfect swing that doesn't exist.
Right.
And instead, you focus on optimizing your unique swing for better power, better consistency. This has been a genuine deep dive, really understanding the individuality of the golf swing.
It really has. And I think if there's one big takeaway, it's embracing that fact. Your swing is unique. And that's not a flaw to be corrected. It's actually a strength, something to be understood and enhanced.
Well said. There is no single perfect swing.
Only the most effective swing for you, based on how you're built and how you naturally move.
We'd genuinely love to hear what resonated with you from this deep dive today. Did you have an aha moment thinking about your own swing tendencies? Feel free to share your thoughts with us on our website.
Yeah, we'd love to hear. And maybe, as a final thought to sort of mull over,
Okay.
if recognizing and working with your body's natural movement patterns is truly the key to unlocking your best golf swing,
Yeah.
what might that suggest about how you should approach learning or improving in, well, any physical skill or activity in your life?
That's a great question. Something to definitely ponder.
Indeed.
Until next time, happy golfing and happy discovering your swing.